Hey Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome to my first impression video of the Gaul civilization launching on the new frontier pass for Civ 6 on the 24th of September 2020. Let's get started.
Ambiorix leads Gaul in Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Far more than just a king of the north, Ambiorix was known as the king in all directions. He ruled the Oppidum tribe in what is now Belgium.
I've never actually heard of this guy, so I'm curious if there's any backstory or anything about him that I could read, maybe in-game or off-game, but interesting civilization choice. I think the Gaul are a pretty cool idea of a civ, sort of counterpart to the a less civilized version of Rome in a sort of way, so I'm kind of excited and curious to see what their abilities are.
Gaul's powerful unique ability is called Hallstatt culture. It allows mines to provide a minor adjacency bonus for all districts.
That's pretty damn good. A minor adjacency to all districts is not amazing. I don't think this is going to be a game-breaking ability, but it's definitely going to be something that you're going to want to look for value. And since mines are already arguably the best tile improvement in the entire game because they give you production and they're on already productive tiles, getting minor adjacency from them is just a great way to get even more value out of your mines. But you're probably going to want to still look for other ways to get adjacency over that and really look for mines as maybe at most a +1, right? Getting 2 mines adjacent to a district, that's a +1. That's how I would look at that.
Culture bomb, unknown territory, and
Oh wow, so your mines can also culture bomb. That's pretty strong actually. And that's really, really strong because, again, because mines are such an important district tile, right? And you're going to want to be building them anyway. Getting extra benefits from building mines is a really, really powerful bonus, right? If you're building what is arguably the best thing in the game, and you're getting more for building what is arguably the best thing in the game, you're this is great, amazing, right? Also, I'm really curious as to what this little thing right here is. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't look like a district. It looks more like a tile improvement because districts tend to have this kind of hexagonal shape going on. So I'm really, really curious as to what that could be.
and grant additional culture.
Okay, additional culture on your... Oh, actually, I think I do recognize this. Is this one of the city-state things? It looks like a Mayan play area or something. Like, you know, they're like their little own version of football. But getting extra culture from mines, this again... Okay, this is starting to already push this civ into like a territory that is kind of insane. Considering mining is like one of the first technologies you get, and you can get builders relatively early into the game. Getting a culture boost from your mines pretty much hands down makes them the best tiles in the entire game. No questions asked. Like, the only thing they're missing now is like if they give you science as well, which some do, right? Like iron mines give you science. So mines, yeah, I feel like mines, this is kind of a really, not weird, but like a very interesting and powerful direction to take a civ, because already these bonuses are, I don't think they're going to be overpowered, but they're like really, really, really strong.
The downside to this power is that specialty districts cannot be built next to the city center and do not receive adjacency bonuses from other districts.
Okay, so that's like a pretty reasonable downside. Like that's actually quite easy to play around. Not being able to build your city centers adjacent to, or not being able to build your districts adjacent to your city centers, that's gonna really change how you play quite a bit. Especially because you're going to be relying on your border growth a lot early game. So you're going to want mines early to spread your borders. You're going to want monuments early to spread your borders. You're going to need a lot of gold to actually buy the tiles to put your districts down upon. Very, very. I would say it's a kind of downside that you can work around. The other downside of where your districts don't get adjacency bonuses from other districts is also workable around. And this in a way kind of tells me that this civ wants to spread out. You're going to want your cities a little bit further apart than you would normally have them. Normally, you would want your cities somewhere between 3 to 4 tiles of each other. And this is going to feel a lot like a civ that wants to have, wants that 4 tiles away, 4 or more. Like, if you can a city 3 tiles away, there's just not enough room for those cities to put down their districts. So you're going to need to space out a little bit more than you would usually. And your sort of instinct to maybe settle, 3 tiles apart is going to have to change to settle 4 tiles apart, which is that's going to change how you play. You're going to have a few less cities than other civilizations. You're going to be a bit more spread out. You're going to have a lot more territory to cover in terms of like the distance between your cities and your defensible tiles. Yeah, I'd say that's a reasonable downside, but it can be played around. It is definitely good. This is definitely going to change how you play the game a lot.
Gaul's unique unit is called the Gaesatae. It replaces the warrior and receives additional combat strength when fighting stronger units and district defenses.
So that's a really interesting unit. I think there's a few key things here I want to talk about. First of all, it's a warrior replacement unit, so you get that 4 era score right at the start of the game, which means you might want to aim for a golden age classical era if you can, because you get that +4 era score. So that might be a direction you're going to want to take the civilization when you play. It also means you might want to actually spam out these guys because they are warrior replacements and they're really strong. They have a combat strength bonus against units that are stronger than them. I assume that means that the base combat strength of the unit is stronger than them, because we can see here the spearman is 25 combat strength and it's getting the bonus. So I think a warrior's base strength is 20. So assuming that that's the same, I think it is. I could rewind here just like a smidge and actually check that out. Yeah, so it's 20. So pretty much I'm assuming here that it's base strength compared to base strength. So this unit will be quite good in that with like a promotion or two and maybe a bonus or two, it's actually just as strong as a swordsman in a lot of situations. Maybe not perfectly so, but it could definitely hold up to, I don't want to say crossbowmen, because swordsmen actually get ripped apart by crossbowmen, but it could probably hold its own a lot better than warriors could.
Combat strength when fighting stronger units and district defenses, but is more expensive to train.
I mean, the more expensive to train, I think most of the warrior replacement units are more expensive to train, or most of like the starting unit replacements are more expensive to train. Like you've got the, the Aztec Eagle Warrior, you've got the Sumerian War Cart, and the Cree Oppidum that replaces the Scout. All of these guys are slightly more expensive to kind of offset the fact that you get access to them right at the start of the game. So I'm okay with that. I think it's a pretty reasonable debuff. It is a bit of a pain because depending on how much of a difference they make to the price, that can actually really affect your early game strategy. Because normally, if you, like, let's say the unit is, twice as expensive, just an example, you kind of budget to spend 5 turns building a warrior, but now you have to spend 10, right? And you just scale that, and so that's going to like delay everything that comes after that warrior by a significant amount. So it's a pretty big downside. It's a pretty big downside, but there are a lot of benefits. You get that extra combat split, you get that era score, all that jazz really, really early into the game. And early game unique units are really, really powerful. I would say the earlier a unique unit comes into the game, the better, with the exception of the ancient era classical units, because they all have significant downsides. There are, of course, exceptions to that, like the Patati Archer and stuff like that, but that's sort of like the general case.
Gaul's unique district is called the Oppidum. It's not only cheaper and available earlier than the industrial zone, but also unlocks the apprenticeship technology when constructed.
Okay, that's really interesting. So it's an industrial zone that comes earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if this came pretty early into the game. It doesn't say when it comes, but I would guess something like ancient wall tech or watermill tech, or maybe even encampment tech or something like that. Like I would guess that they want you to be building this really, really early into the game. And the really unique thing about that is you get access to this a lot earlier than other civs, which means you start earning great engineer points a lot earlier than other civs. You get access to production a lot earlier than other civs. By the way, the free technology, getting apprenticeship for free, is massive for a civilization that already wants to build mines, because when you research apprenticeship, all of your mines get +1 production. So this is like just a crazy thing. You're going to want to immediately rush this in pretty much every single game you play as these guys, because the benefits for getting this online with their other mine strategy is just insane, right? You're going to instantaneously go from a civilization that has, grassland hills with 2 food, 2 production, 1 culture, to 2 food, 3 production, 1 culture. And just that, which is like huge, by the way. Like apprenticeship is one of the key early mid-game technologies that changes your empire. And getting it for free and really, really early is a game changer.
Highly defensible, it offers its own ranged attack and receives a major adjacency bonus from quarries and strategic resources.
Major adjacency bonuses are actually quite rare. And so getting +2 production from quarries is really, really good. That's going to mean that you're probably going to want to keep quarries as the civilization, because the adjacency on industrial zones can be a little bit difficult to get. However, getting it is really damn good. And getting a major adjacency, if you don't know, there's minor, standard, and major. Minor is for every 2 of a thing adjacent to it, you get +1. Standard is for every 1 of a thing you get +1, and major is for every 1 of a thing you get +2. So getting a major adjacency bonus from strategic resources and quarries is a significant buff over the regular industrial zone alongside the cheaper price. Now, assuming that it also gets the benefit from aqueducts and stuff like that, that would be interesting. I don't know if it will because of the way their district adjacency stuff plays around, but this is a really, really powerful district as well. This seems like a production civ, and the thing about a production civ is that they can pretty much do whatever they want.
Ambiorix's ability is called King of the Urbirwans. It grants Gaul additional culture based on unit cost when a non-civilian unit is trained.
Okay, so getting extra culture from training military units is pretty powerful. I would rate that as like decent. I think that's more of a war bonus really than a culture bonus, because you getting culture from building units means you can build less monuments. It means you're just ahead in terms of technology with regards to the civic tree. That's just like a really big advantage. Unlocking cards earlier, spreading your borders faster, assuming of course the culture actually goes to the city you earned it in. If it doesn't, then just, you know, earning things faster. That's what I would call that an okay bonus so far. Like, getting the extra culture is pretty decent. I don't know if it's a game breaker, but it's a strong bonus when you consider their already strong culture gain. But like, I mean, again, actually, in context of their wider culture passive gain from mines, this feels really weak, actually. Yeah, this feels really weak. And it's more of like a very small passive boost to your overall culture. Really not great, actually. In the context of those of the extra production or the extra culture from your mines, yeah, this is a very, very small bonus for this civ. For any other civ, it would be a pretty decent bonus.
It also gives melee, anti-cavalry, and ranged units bonus combat strength for every adjacent combat unit.
Okay, that is massive. If we just go back a few frames here so that the video brightens up. Yeah, that is massive. 12 combat strength. So I assume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I assume for every adjacent unit, you get +2, which is huge, by the way. Like, to put that in perspective, upgrading an army or upgrading a unit to a core is +10. And so you could probably reliably, with your melee and ranged and anti-cavalry units, have 2 to 3 units adjacent to them at all times. So that's a 4 to 6 a combat bonus across your entire army, which is pretty cool, like just guaranteed. And then higher in other situations, like you might be able to get better with archers. That's kind of ridiculous, especially if you combine it with like flanking bonuses, which I remember is like +2 per unit you have adjacent to the enemy unit. So if I have like even in like, if I have 3 units adjacent to the enemy and 3 of my own units adjacent to me, I have a 12 combat strength bonus. This is like a ridiculous production war save right now. That's insane, actually. That's crazy.
Unit. Gaul's focus is on a defensive, culture, and production-centered game.
I don't know about that. Defensive culture. I don't know about defensive. I mean, that might be their focus, but I feel like it's more of a war-focused culture game than a defensive culture game. I'm trying to think of how you would actually win as the Gauls. I don't know if you would go for tourism as this civ. I mean, you do get a lot of culture, but culture isn't really the thing that wins you a tourism game. Faith and tourism is. So really, this feels like a jack of all trades civ, but an extremely powerful jack of all trades civ, because they have a massive, massive boost to their production in terms of mines and stuff like that.
Prioritize border expansion early so you have room to build districts far from the city center. claim as many mines as possible to fuel this expansion with Gaul's culture bombing ability. Place the Oppidum to guard valuable resources in your sprawling city. Also, consider rushing military tradition for flanking bonuses, which can combine with Gaul's horde-based combat buffs to forge a truly formidable army. Will you undermine your enemies to reign in all directions? How will you lead Gaul in Sid Meier's Civilization 6?
Overall, I'm super impressed with this civ. I do want to go back and look. I want to go back and look at the abilities here. These are really, really powerful. But here's the thing: I don't feel like they're game breaking. I think that they're only really, really powerful in the hands of a player who knows what they're doing, and that's a really interesting design to go for a civ. Right? Is that this civ? It's kind of like the Khmer, right? The Khmer are incredibly powerful. But only if you know what you're doing, only if you understand what a timing attack is, only if you understand how the technology tree works, only if you understand how culture, population, faith, you have to understand all of these game mechanics to actually get a grip with Khmer and take advantage of them. Whereas with a civilization like Rome, it's like you settle city, lol, free monument, go kill. And and that's what I'm thinking. That's what I think here with the Gaul. I see a civ that's sort of somewhere between Khmer and Rome in complexity, but tilted just slightly towards Khmer, in that you have to think and plan a lot more than you would do with another civilization. But yeah, overall, I'm going to go ahead and say that these are going to be a strong civ. I don't think they're going to be overpowered. I think they're going to be overpowered in the hands of a really, really good player. In the sense that they're going to be literally untouchable because they get the extra district that does damage. They're going to have insanely powerful early game units. They're going to have ridiculous culture and production. They could pretty much go for any victory type that they want to. And to me, weirdly enough, here's a hot take. I think this is a diplomatic victory civilization. Okay? Because the two most important things for a diplomatic victory are culture and production. Okay? If you have a civilization that's amazing at culture and production, they can do an amazing diplomatic victory game, because you need to get to the end of the civic tree to get the carbon reclamation project, which reduces your CO2 production and increases your diplomatic favor that you can use to win world congresses. And this civilization wants to build the industrial zone in every city because they get it for half price, which is a key component to doing the carbon recapture project that you unlock with culture. So this feels like an amazing diplomatic victory civ that can pretty much transition and do whatever they want, whether it's war or whatever. Anyway, so I think that's my full impression of the video. I think it's my full impression of the civilization. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. I'll see you guys next time. I love you all. Bye-bye.